Washington for a so-called pro-America rally.
What's up? Trash here. Deplorable here. How's everybody doing? I'm just going to be doing some cooking, man. That's about it. Gonna make some room here.
Knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was mess over here. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man was threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities.
So, got some stuff going here for cooking.
Mass deportations of immigrants is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Ooh, Trump, the freaking Hitler now, huh? Now he's Hitler. What's next, man? Fucking Trump Satan? Is that what's next?
There's a direct parallel.
Fucking people are ridiculous, man. They need to give it a break.
And don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
The PR came to Madison Square Garden last night. The clueless
I don't know what's up with these ants. All of a sudden I'm getting ants, dude.
What I think may have been the
I've had them for 2 years.
That includes the press conference he had last week to talk about
First.
This was supposed to be Trump's closing argument to voters. It felt more like Kamala Harris's closing argument to voters. It was ugly, it was mean,
Sacco
it was
Veggies.
racist, anti-Semitic, it was stupid. They really fought Puerto Rican.
This is what I use.
Where Bad Bunny had to get involved, and that's when you know you got a problem.
Clean my body.
Such a mess with Puerto Ricans. They're now throwing paper towels at him. In this event, all the stars of the third right were there.
We were talking earlier about yesterday's Trump rally from at Madison Square Garden. So what did you make of it?
I think
It was everything that we need to know about Donald Trump in one weird white nationalist Nazi kind rally. Historic parallel to where an event has happened.
Some people who watched that made comparisons between a rally that happened at Madison Square Garden in 1939 with neo-Nazis or Nazis back then. Did you see those
Trump's probably just trolling them anyways.
expand on what he said and what you said yesterday about Puerto Rico?
Donald Trump has, this is not new about him, by the way. What he did last night is not a discovery. It's just more of the same and maybe more vivid than usual. Donald Trump spent full time.
Can't stop talking about it. He just can't help himself.
Fans the fuel of hate and division.
God,
And that's why people are exhausted.
Do you think Donald Trump is the best?
First, there was some white entertainment. So Trump was channeling his inner L.
Inner add-on.
Yo, tampon Tim. Really?
Donald Trump has descended into madness over the last few weeks. In my 60 damn years, I didn't think I'd ever see a candidate for president praising Adolf Hitler in general. Donald Trump's got this big rally going on National Square, talking about using the military against their enemies. And it's pretty stunning. There's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden. Don't kid yourself. You're someone on that list too who disagree with these people. That's who they are. Don't think that he doesn't know for 1 second exactly what they're doing there.
And Trump said, sorry, what's your name? My name's Tim, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
Self-admitted knucklehead.
Bush was a Nazi.
You did look the age of fallibility, consequences of the war on terror. I want to read to you a quote that sort of startled me. I'm sure a lot of your readers, once they read it. The Bush administration and the Nazi and communist regimes all engaged in the politics of fear. Indeed, the Bush administration has been able to improve on the technique used by the Nazi and communist propaganda machines by drawing on the innovations of the advertising and marketing industries. Now, when a lot of people hear comparisons between President Bush and Nazis and communists, they're going to say George Soros, you've gone over the top.
And you actually picked up the most incendiary part of the book, and I am very careful to draw a clear distinction between the Nazi regime and our open society, because we are a democracy. But there are some similarities in the propaganda methods which I pointed out.
But George Soros, you lived through the Holocaust. Yes. You know firsthand what the Nazis were doing. You lived through the Cold War, the worst of the Stalinist era. To make comparisons between the President of the United States and these regimes, a lot of people are going to say, what are you thinking?
Well, that is unfortunate because I think there are some serious arguments about our open society being endangered by the policies followed by the Bush administration. The war on terror, which does not have an end, changes. It leads to an undue extension of executive powers. It has stifled debate, criticizing the president is considered unpatriotic, and as a result, we've been following policies which endanger our position.
A lot of people will agree with you on that, but where they will starkly disagree is to then bring in the whole Nazi and communist comparison.
You are actually, it's a valid point, and maybe I did go over the line, but I think that on the whole, my assessment is a balanced one, and the fact, frankly, when President Bush said you are either with us or you are with the terrorists, that's when I was reminded. But I should have probably kept it to myself.
Well, at least somebody called Trump the black face of white supremacy.
Good morning, Larry. Thanks for doing this. Go ahead, sure.
I believe that the coverage of my candidacy by the LA Times has been immensely unfair, grossly unfair. You call me the black face of white supremacy. Beyond the pale. You also had another writer who also called me a black face of Jew. I find that enormously offensive.
One,
But you never, ever interview me for any of my stuff, ever. It is completely unfair. I know you don't like high politics. I don't like high taxes. I don't like high regulations. I want secure borders. All of what you guys are opposed to. You supported, for example, Proposition 15 for crying out loud. You use race again as a factor for college admissions and for hiring and for contracting. And when the voters in 1996, I think it was, voted against that, you guys wanted to restore it. I think it's a racist agenda, a racist bill.
Wow, what the hell is going on?
So, calling me the black face of white supremacy, calling me all the David, that's the supremacy. So I hope this doesn't degenerate into a witch hunt. I hope this really is a friendly or a fair interview with the two of you. But I have my suspicions.
Okay, well, I'm glad you got that, we're able to get that off your chest, and I understand that you're not happy with the LA Times coverage.
I'm happy with my confidence on the black face of white supremacy.
I'm not really here to comment on our last 30 years of coverage of you or recently.
Well,
I'm not really here to represent, that's a column by one of our colleagues, and I'm, you know what? I want to do an interview with you about, you mentioned the John Mitchell profile, but John actually was one of my first colleagues at the LA Times. I enjoyed his profile. The only thing I'll say about that and past coverages, we haven't covered radio much at all in the last 20, 25 years. And okay. Okay.
Oh, there the other. Fucking pissed.
Okay.
Man.
What I'm really hoping we can do with this time is talk about, you're saying you want us
There the other's
to give you
calling
a
that
fair
like
shot,
a
and we're going
out,
to
dude.
ask you about some of your history and your past. So we're trying to give a full view of you now, and we talked to a lot of people, including some of your friends like Dennis Prager, Stephen Sachs, Miss Stewart, your colleague, and Well, Stewart is from KBC. So we are talking to people who are, some of your biggest fans and doing this profile. And what we'd like to do now, we have very limited time, is talk to you about your career in radio and yeah, and 30 minutes is a short time. So I'm not going to comment on any of our coverage at the LA Times. I want to start right now afresh with this interview and try to get some information from you about your career. You just said we aren't paying attention to it, and I'm trying to pay attention to it right now. So can we start?
Dang, man.
Let's party like it's 1999. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 1999. And she wants to be commander-in-chief.
And as of today, there's not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time this was what? The first time it's been, well, are we
And this man is still commander-in-chief. Hey,
Alright. So,
hey, do something shooting a long time ago. Like a formal apology. An Indian nation. The way we treat their children for so many years. That's not wrong. That's not disrespect. And to the hail of Indian River community, the healing. That's the wrong name.
dude,
behind closed doors with him? It
unbelievable.
was a bad debate. People have bad debates.
Man.
But he is absolutely, that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running for the top of the ticket. Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why. What do you think? I'm running for president of the United States. Joe Biden is not. Sorry. Mitch McConnell and Speaker Mike Johnson put out a statement comparing rhetoric that you have been
So I got
using,
beans
comparing
here.
it to the man who's accused of an attempted
I got an
assassination
idea.
on your opponent, Donald
Making
Trump.
2 things.
Do you take their criticism seriously? Well, listen, we all must speak out against any form of political violence, and I'm very clear about that. No one should be the subject of violence, much less political violence. But the American people deserve to be presented with facts and the truth. And the fact and the truth is that some of the people closest to Donald Trump when he was president, generals, including most recently John Kelly, a 4-star Marine general, have been very clear about the danger and the threat that Donald Trump poses to America.
What an act of desperation. Question, is it working? I don't think so.
In the last few days, the vice president has started to talk about Donald Trump as a fascist, as someone who's spoken approvingly of Hitler. Raise your hand if you've heard about those comments. Okay. What do folks think? Is that something
That's slander.
persuasive to you? Is that something that you'll factor into your vote? Linda?
To me, it's horrible that she's saying that about him. If he was saying that about her, everybody would be up in arms.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's right.
What other folks think about what the vice president saying, based on accounts of people who worked with the President Trump? What do folks think about her making those charges and those characterizations?
She obviously thinks it's going to help her. I don't think it does at all. I don't know why, if it was Kelly who heard the president say that, I'm not saying he did or he didn't. I don't think he'd lie. I think you said that, Mark, on an episode. But I think that he had a responsibility to resign the day that was said. That's true. I don't think that's the case.
I can't. I think part of the reason why I'm being pushed towards Trump so strongly is that I find that the Democrats and the left just keep going straight to Hitler all of the time with everything. Like it, and if it's not the left pushing Hitler, it's the right pushing Stalin. So it's like we're fighting World War II every single day for every single election. So it's so exhausting. I think it just detracts from, it pushes me away from their position, and
Absolutely.
it's so hyperbolic that it makes it impossible to have good discussions, and I think it ruins the discourse.
Does anybody think it's valuable or something you want to hear from the vice president? Anybody raise your hand if you think this is something that's important for her to be talking about? Anybody? Okay.
If you weren't following the news, a massive hit to the US dollar came in June when Saudi Arabia did not renew its 50-year petrodollar deal with the US. You see, since 1974, Saudi Arabia has sold oil solely in US dollars. And that was huge to our global economic dominance. Now they want options other than the US dollar. So I ask you, if there is less demand for the dollar, what happens to the dollar? Look, it's reasons like this that Americans turn to Birch Gold Group. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into physical gold. To learn more, visit LarryForGold.com and claim your free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, visit LarryForGold.com. Birch Gold has earned my trust with their education-first approach, their thousands of happy customers, and their countless 5-star reviews. Protect your savings with gold before the dollar plunges any further. Visit LarryForGold.com today. That's LarryForGold.com today.
Bannon is headed to prison. Trump advisor Steve Bannon is now serving his
Federal judge
prison
ordered
sentence.
Trump advisor Steve Bannon to report to prison by July 1st. I went to a federal prison for 4 months. Well, I think you can see today, I'm far from broken. I've been empowered by my 4 months at Danbury Federal Prison. No, we're a big believer in this alternative economy. People are tired. They get to vote every day, not just every couple of years. They get to vote and put their values on the line every day before they're spending their money.
So, Steve, we've taken the position here at Patriot Mobile that we're not going to sit around and watch why our country circles the drain. We're just not going to. Why would you leave anything to chance right now? I submit that now is not the time for us to be on the fence with our conservatism.
Scott, where can people track you down and where can you go to Patriot Mobile today?
That's patriotmobile.com/Bannon, or you can call 972-PATRIOT. Make sure you tell them you saw us on Bannon's War Room. Make sure you use the code Bannon.
Remember, you guys have not backed down from anything. It's a true inspiration. Glenn Story and the great team over there at Patriot Mobile, we are honored to have you as a sponsor, honored to be working with you guys. Look forward to working at least for the next 10 years.
Trump was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and the interview has already surpassed 40 million views on YouTube.
So I always got more publicity than other people, and it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild.
Maybe.
You said a lot of wild, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild, made you much more popular. And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you free people. Like you get out, you do these huge events, and you're just talking, and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times where you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like you and you're making fun of Elon one time. You're doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you said to Hillary, you'd be in jail. Like that's great timing. But it's like that kind of stuff was unheard of as a politician. Like no one had done that. Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure, but why not? Because our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich, we had so much money, we didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs. And the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel, you want to be punk rock, you want to fuck the system, you're a conservative now. That's how crazy. And then the liberals are now pro silencing criticism. They're pro censorship online. They're talking about regulating free speech and then regulating the First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
You know, they come after their political opponent.
Well,
I got more guys. I always say, I kid, but I'm not kidding. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He'd kill you in 2 seconds if he didn't like you, right? I've been under investigation more than Alphonse Capone, only because it's political opponent stuff. And I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win, but I know what they did. They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yeah,
I could have put Crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're then weaponizing it by saying that that's what you were going to do once you get in office, by ignoring what they're doing right now. It's crazy.
I heard it. Somebody was defending me today. They said, no, they say, that's what you're doing to him. They're going, he's going to put us in jail. He's going to invest. That's what you're doing to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, will you do that? Will you do that to him if you win? The presidency has tremendous power. I could have put Crooked Hillary.
I respected that you didn't.
Now, Rogan did invite Kamala Harris to come on the show, and her campaign came back at it with several demands. So Joe said,
can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
I could imagine her doing this show.
She was laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do it, and I hope she does.
She's not gonna.
I will talk to her like a human being. I will try and have a
conversation with her. If she did this kind of an interview with you, I hope she does, because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
I think we'd have a fine conversation. I think I'd be able to talk to her. I wouldn't try to interview her. I just try to have a conversation with her and hopefully get to know her as a human being. That was my goal, having her on. Trying to get her to express herself just as a, I don't think these formats are good. I don't think that two people, first of all, I hate the idea of the presidential debates because I hate the idea of a time limitation on complex ideas. Also, you have to break.
I think you have to have the debates.
Right, but the way they do the debates, I think, is the wrong way to do it. I think they should have a conversation. I think you and Kamala, you sit across the table with no one in the room but the two of you.
Now, Kamala may have missed her chance to be on Rogan's podcast, but not JD Vance.
Well, and how do you get that close? I mean,
Yeah.
do you shoot guns?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a pretty good shot. I served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. An AR-15 from 140 yards away is a
Chip
hot
shot.
shot.
Even without a scope. He didn't have a scope,
Yeah.
right?
I don't believe he had a scope.
But even without a scope.
Without a scope. I mean,
Yeah.
I've shot an M16 many times, and an AR-15 without a scope. There is no. It is shocking that he's alive.
Yeah.
Right? It really is. I'm a person of faith, but I think it's a genuine miracle that that guy didn't kill him. But how did he get so close? There's a lot of really big questions questions.
Well, he was walking around the area with a rangefinder before the event.
And people were yelling and saying,
He's on the roof.
He's on the roof.
Yeah.
You know, there was a crazy, I think it was a BBC report, somebody with an English accent who did a report on the ground with the guy. You know, he's like got a MAGA hat on and a Bud Light. He's probably not a Bud Light. He's got some beer and he's talking to this guy who saw crooks get on the roof and he's yelling at them. It's an amazing clip. He's yelling at them like, hey, he's yelling at police officers saying, hey, this guy's on the roof, go and get him. And nobody responded to it. And the whole thing is very fishy to me, and I hope that we win and then get to the bottom of it, because I think somebody clearly screwed up. Because when you first see the video, he grabs his ear and then he goes down, and I'm like, oh my God, they just killed him. And I was so, but then I go into like fight or flight mode with my kids. I'm like, our kids, we were at a mini golf place in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grab my kids up, throw them in the car, go home and load all my guns, and basically stand like a sentry at our front door. And that was sort of my reaction to
When you gloss Michael Rappaport,
Being Donald Trump, call him whatever you want. I've given you gem after gem for years, but stop with the Hitler. Stop with the Hitler. Do not refer to Hitler and the Holocaust, the actual greatest slaughter and actual genocide of the Jewish people ever for attention and political gain. Stop it. That Nazi rally that took place in Madison Square Garden in 1939 was just that, an actual true blue Nazi rally. So are you saying that anyone and everyone who shows up at Madison Square Garden for this upcoming Trump rally is a Nazi? That's a Nazi rally? Get the out of here. What kind of rallies are happening on the college campuses in New York City, in Union Square, where they're waving Hamas flags and pissing Yahya Sinwar photos? What kind of rallies are that? Do not mention the Holocaust, Hitler, to score political points. When you ignore the greatest slaughter of Jews since the actual Holocaust, which happened on October 7th.
The Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the president.
Fucking Kamala's such a joke. Gosh, she's so pathetic. So pathetic.
My name is Jerry Wardsky. I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches.
That was awesome, man.
Poland when I was 9 years old.
Fucking just like Hitler.
He murdered my parents and most of our family.
So,
I know more about Hitler than Kamala.
I'm gonna try a new thing here.
In 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard.
Cut it right in half like this.
Years living in the United States. I know President Trump,
Oh my God,
and he will never say this. And Kamala Harris knows this. She owns my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Yeah, she ain't gonna do this.
Because he's a mensch. I believe that President Trump is definitely going to be good for Israel because everything that he's done up to now was in favor. He never double-crossed anyone, and he never showed any weakness. Why should President Trump pray for the hostages at the OL and spend time with him so meaningful? He has always stood for the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
And this is big news that won't be covered on ABC, NBC, CBS, especially not on CBS, because they fired the reporter Catherine Herridge because of her reporting of the Hunter Biden laptop story. Here she interviews two IRS whistleblowers who say the government knew right away the Hunter Biden laptop story was authentic, but lied about it. First, remember during the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump?
Look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Garbage.
Is Hunter Biden's guilty plea in the federal tax case vindication?
Yeah, I absolutely believe so. He pled straight up to what was in the indictment.
Just to see the risk that Joe and I took, to buck that bureaucracy, which is the IRS, and to go directly against the Department of Justice and directly the White House, it was validation and it was vindication. And I wouldn't have changed anything.
This is the first joint interview with IRS whistleblowers Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler after Hunter Biden pleaded guilty in September to felony and misdemeanor tax charges. This internal IRS email, exclusively shared with our investigative team, shocked the whistleblowers.
When you received this email from your IRS supervisor after Hunter Biden's guilty plea, calling it a great conviction, what was your response?
I honestly couldn't believe that it happened. I literally, first person I called was Gary, and I'm like, can you believe that this was sent?
Those are words that are not supported by the actions of the agency.
Thank you for your commitment to the mission, which culminated in a great conviction. I almost see you rolling your eyes as I read this. Now you're shaking your head.
Yeah. This to me was someone who knows that IRS watchdog right now is looking into the way that they've handled this, and they see the writing on the wall. And this really is an example of just covering their backside, like a true bureaucracy.
What you're saying is that within the IRS, there is disparate treatment of American taxpayers.
What they call it is sensitive investigations.
But sensitive investigation sounds like code for powerful elite people.
There's a list in the Internal Revenue Manual that says what a sensitive person is, and it's exactly that. Politicians, CEOs of companies, high net worth individuals, and then it requires countless additional approvals to work that investigation.
I wanted to get your reaction to this recent filing by Special Counsel Jack Smith. It's 165 pages, allegations against former President Trump, who's also a presidential candidate. And this was made public just a month before the election.
Compared to what happened in our investigation, there were a lot of overt investigative steps that we were not allowed to take because we had an upcoming election. And it related to the president's son, so not even the candidate. And we weren't allowed to do certain investigative steps.
This filing by Jack Smith in the Trump case would never have happened if the names were swapped and it was Hunter Biden.
Based on what we saw in the Hunter Biden case, that document would have never been released 4 weeks before an election.
So you're talking about a double standard in the Justice Department.
Department of Justice created a precedent as it relates to ongoing investigations in elections in the Hunter Biden case. And if they don't follow that precedent and they do something much more aggressive, then it's clear to me that there's some type of double standard.
4 years ago this month, and 3 weeks before the presidential election, Hunter Biden's laptop, a key piece of evidence in the IRS tax case, was wrongly labeled Russian disinformation.
In our investigation, we knew that the laptop was real.
That didn't
We
work
knew
out.
that the laptop was real.
Try to be the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
Based on the notes of this October 2020 meeting, the FBI and IRS, when did they know the laptop was real?
It was many months before October 2020. We were confirming certain aspects of it that it was real and legitimate as far back as late 2019.
Why was the Hunter Biden laptop reporting suppressed in October of 2020?
There was various reporting of people saying that it's potentially Russian disinformation. And one of those people is the current Secretary of State. His name was in a lot of the emails that were turned over to the House Ways and Means Committee that were on Hunter Biden's laptop. There's definitely a conflict of interest there.
In October 2020, Antony Blinken was a longtime aide to then-candidate Joe Biden. According to congressional testimony, Blinken set into motion the events that led 51 former intelligence
Y'all gonna see
officials to
someday,
cast
man.
doubt
It's all
on the
gonna come out, man. I'm telling
It
you.
was clear there was a
Corrupt.
campaign to discredit that information.
Biden
before an
for
election.
administration.
Ultimately, I guess you can conclude that it was
Obama.
for the purpose of affecting that
corrupt.
election.
When you heard dozens of former intelligence officials say the
Corrupt as
laptop
hell,
had the
man.
classic earmarks of a Russian information operation, you knew that was false.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, as a special agent, as a criminal investigator, and what I know, what I do, I don't know how they could have come to that conclusion regarding this laptop.
It was misinformation to try to make something else look like misinformation.
Did you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Every day.
Do I have a death wish for anyone else? Maybe I did.
Work, that's my life. Purpose, work.
You'd make
Survive.
millions and millions of dollars. But look at other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
You can be in heaven, or you can be in hell. Choice is yours. I found Christ in here, and He forgave me.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours.
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Blue Line Moving is a veteran-owned full-service moving company dedicated to serving families across South Florida, as well as nationwide over the past 10 years. Whether it's moving furniture, organizing items, or packing your belongings, we go the extra mile to make sure.
Come on, Larry, enough of the freaking ads.
We provide clients with an affordable and stress-free moving experience every step of the way. BlueLineMovingAndStorage.com. That's BlueLineMovingAndStorage.com. At Century H2O, we believe that everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water. That's why we're dedicated to providing innovative water treatment solutions that remove harmful toxins, balance pH, and enrich water with essential minerals, supporting your overall health and well-being. They are donating 10% of every purchase to provide under-sink water treatment systems to families impacted by the 2023 train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. CenturyH2O.com. That's with an S, SENTRY, H2O.com. Who doesn't love J.D. Vance?
Ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia votes nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, so we covered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016. No. That was totally and preposterously false.
No,
well,
what you just said is false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself, your network did, Jay. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans...
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate.
I'm talking about things he has said this week. Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jay. Kamala Harris and her allies, you know what's interesting? Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys say what you guys seem to tell you that they would, well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making of the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win, and then we're being told
we're going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy, anonymously sourced, one guy who was a disgruntled employee.
I told you
five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said?
Love J.D. Vance, man.
He got fired by Donald Trump.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
And for all the people who no longer have friends because of Donald Trump, J.D. Vance has a message for you.
To me, the biggest threat to democracy is the rising tide of censorship. The idea that we should be trying to silence our fellow Americans rather than persuade them and talk to them. That's always going to lead to people being soft because they don't like to be told what to think, what to say. They like to talk to one another. And that's one thing that I'll always commit to. As you know, you're vice president for the next 4 years, I'll always try to talk to people. We'll go out there and we'll do events with people who disagree with us. We'll answer questions from people who don't always see eye to eye. But I think if we set the tone at the top, the leadership of this country is all about communicating with one another. I think that's how we start to heal the divide, but we all have a role in it. And one final point I'll say about this, and don't get too personal all the time, but one of the things I've seen, especially from some of my wife's friends and some of my friends, is that they disagree with us on politics sometimes. They'll get very personal about it. And if you're discarding a lifelong friendship because somebody votes for the other team, then you've made a terrible, terrible mistake, and you should do something different. Like, don't pass aside. Like, most of my family obviously is going to vote for Donald Trump and JD Vance, and if they're not, actually, I need to talk to them. But I've got friends who like me personally, acquaintances who aren't necessarily going to vote for me. That doesn't make them bad people. And we can't, this is my most important advice, whether you vote for me, whether you vote for Donald Trump, whether you vote for Kamala Harris, don't cast aside family members and lifelong friendships. Politics is not worth it. And I think we follow that principle with all the divide in this country.
Hat tip to Black Tea News.
The most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values do not change. The policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a citizenship.
Government plan would provide coverage for undocumented. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease
Big
in
old
funding
chunk of
to ICE.
ginger.
Are you aware that there's a
That puts
perception?
ICE in the same category as the KKK.
We have a president of the United States who has created a fiction about a crisis at the border, and he has held up the United States government and its workers around a vanity project called a wall.
Let me be very clear, I'm not going to vote for a wall under any circumstances.
I've been very clear about the images that you and I both saw of those law enforcement officials on horses. I was outraged by it.
And you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care.
Lots of ginger.
Support those things.
Listen, that was 5 years ago.
You chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law.
We must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
All drug possession, that's not just marijuana, which she alluded to in her answer to this question, but it also would be
Yes, federal law, all drug
fentanyl, crack, cocaine, things like that, yeah.
For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong.
But people who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote.
I think we should have that conversation.
This DA, Kamala Harris, floated a plan to the police department to not prosecute drug dealers until their third arrest.
So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. They told me I was under arrest for my child missing school. I was shocked. I said, but my baby is sick. The school knows that.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay.
And I inhaled. I did inhale. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every
Mama
transgender
makes me sick. She really does.
inmate in the prison system would have access.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners. That one line, I was like, hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going there.
The Medicare for All bill, I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on. I do not trust Donald Trump on the issue of the vaccine.
It's not about freedom or personal choice.
How dare they tell a
woman, what she can do and cannot do with her own body. Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question,
you
would you
could,
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month.
not true.
She then decided to investigate the numerous Planned Parenthood mega clinics in her state who were involved in this bloody business of selling baby body parts. She decided to investigate me.
First of all, if you are a parent of sons, do think about what this means for the life of your son.
Women are being denied care during miscarriages.
It was a complication from an abortion pill that she received. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, said it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice.
And start monitoring pregnancy. Project 2025's 900-page policy document is online. You can read it. I've read it. Nothing in it proposes to make anyone register their pregnancy with the government.
Let's remember Charlottesville. There were 5 people on each side.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-nationalists, because they
I
should
hope
be
Trump
condemned
is
totally.
They are directly speaking to millions
Really?
and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop. You also worked with them to oppose busing.
So you don't mean it?
It was a debate. The way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts.
How do you feel about the switch? I mean, the switch. Now we went through a very open process.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Contrary to what my opponent is suggesting, I will never tell you what kind of car you have to drive.
But the real core problem is it expresses a level of economic illiteracy, which is kind of surprising in a responsible Democratic candidate.
The most significant climate change law ever. And by the way, it is a $369 billion bill. It's called the, and we should have named it what it was.
Help us, man.
How mandatory is your gun buyback program?
It's mandatory. Instead of saying, no, we can't, let's say, yes, we can. That any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps. Afghanistan, yes. Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
Vice President Harris, I ask you, why won't you return a call and explain to us how you call my daughter-in-law's death a success?
I believe the Biden-Harris administration and open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what
I
I'm
will
saying.
tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. But let's talk about
There. Yeah.
what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There's not a thing that comes to mind.
Yikes! You can't send a highly educated black person down off in the ghetto to go talk to a bunch of uneducated black people. They gonna run it down there.
Right.
And he's talking proper, using proper English with a suit on. You gotta send him to go talk to him. Say, you dumb mother, listen up. Who you calling dumb? You dumb mother. Your kids. And you show them where they dumb.
Yeah.
And argue with them. But so that's what I'm trying to show. I'm the that can talk to, and I'm that can talk to black folk, and I can gather them together.
Yeah.
And then go.
Republicans need that because right now the Democrats have all the black people voters, right?
Now Trump got it right now. The worst thing they did was making Trump convict himself, because now all black and resonate with him.
Yeah.
Listen, psychologically, they don't even know they do. But now, psychologically, they gravitate because now they can connect. Now they can relate. When we watch that debate, my 20-year-old son watched the whole debate. We've already been desensitized, or we've already been groomed to embrace Trump through the rap lyrics. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in now. That's a man. Trump's been in over 300 rap songs.
Wow.
I did a cartoon in the White House, and after that, me and Donald Trump hung out, but then I'm not bad at you boosting or
People
level.
down in 20.
From Nelly, Jeezy, or 2 Chainz, man, you name it. Man, you name it. Bun B, so some of the most prolific rappers have rapped about using Trump's name. So we're already kind of groomed to embrace it. And he a convict now. That's my. I was born in 1977, May 17, 1977. As far back as I can remember, in the 80s, I've seen Trump with pictures with Rosa Parks, Michael Jackson, Russell Simmons, Tupac, Mike Tyson, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg. I can go on the list. Now, how quickly have we forgotten that he once had a show that was called The Apprentice? One of the best shows we watched on television. Amazing stuff. He had Omarosa, he had Little John, he had every we love on that. He had the project manager. He'd fire all the black swerves. He had Claudia Jordan on there. So, and his Apprentice show ran for quite some time.
Yeah, over 10 seasons.
We never heard it be called a racist then.
Ever.
Not once. It wasn't until he decided to run for president that all of a sudden he was a racist.
All of a sudden.
Speaking of Kamala Harris's rallies.
Man.
1 minute later.
So let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a big, loud Texas welcome to the next president of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris.
After that, Kamala walks out, right? She gives him the hug, and everybody's so happy. She's like, what? Beyonce only spoke for 3 minutes? I thought we were going to get a free concert. Wait, what? What's going on? Wait, why is she hugging Kamala? I thought this was a concert. Oh, and then Kelly and Beyonce have a nice little moment, reminiscing. And then everybody realizes it was a bait and switch, and they walked their butts out. They duped us. They duped the entire city of Houston, Texas, 30,000 people right before an election less than 2 weeks away.
For the first time ever anywhere, the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald
I'm so sorry. To my world, I'm so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
That's so hilarious.
As soon as she got on stage and read what she needed to read from the teleprompter and left the stage,
I need something to drink.
90% of the building left.
Oh, shit. Not like that.
I mean, when will they learn this happens at every rally? They practice with these celebs. People come in and treat it like a free
Oh, shit.
They're not saying
I gotta get some sugar. I think my blood sugar's a little low. I gotta get something.
Like, this is so epic. Literally, there are people uploading footage, and like there was by the time Madam VP got on that stage, she was talking to herself. She was talking to herself and probably the cleaning people or the people who like pick up the extra chairs. Like, you can't make this up. Yeah, they literally treated that rally like a free concert. And once the performance, because that's what it was over and Beyonce finished reading what she was going to read, the building emptied out.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. What do the elites on the mean streets of Hollywood say?
Hey, Willie Nelson here, reporting from beautiful Hollywood, California, where the stars shine bright, but the streets tell a different story. With celebrity endorsements playing a big role in this election, I'm asking the stars if they're still buying into the Hollywood elite or ready to back someone who makes sense. Are they Team Kamala or Team Trump? Let's find out.
For the sake of this world, democracy, go Trump. If Kamala wins, I think we're doomed. You know, we might end up like China.
Oh, I'm Harris.
Okay, lovely, and why is that?
There are abortion laws I disagree with.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump as well.
What policy in particular do you guys like about Donald Trump?
I think just putting America first. You never wonder what team he's on. You know, he's pulling for the United States, and I just like the way that he says get America working again.
Well, I like money. And you know who the money candidate is? Donald Trump, American hero. Going for Trump!
Trump. I find it quite amusing. Who's got your vote, my friend?
Kamala Harris and Tim Walsh.
Okay, great. And why is that?
First female black president of the United States of America. I'm sorry.
What do you think about Kamala?
I don't know, man. But being the first black is not going to be all big. Nothing big about it. It's just America.
So you don't think it's a big deal if the first woman president is a black woman?
No, it's not a big deal.
Trump, the way that they was doing it, the way that we gonna pursue it. Hip hop, rap, and R&B, I got it on lock. Never will I fall. Now you know for sure, rest the block.
Because when Donald Trump gets in office, we all gonna get paid. I don't like Kamala Harris just because she's not her own race that she claimed to be. It's because she's trying to fit into a community where she's not even welcome. Damn! You know, she said she was black, but come to find out, her dad is from Jamaica and she's Indian.
Which one is she?
I don't know. She might be Indian. And she's out in the streets doing things that the culture is doing and she's not familiar with.
Well, now it's just cooking for
Trump actually going to the churches. He's talking to the people.
half hour. So we'll go ahead and button this one up. And looks like it's a slow night anyways, so we'll go ahead and button this puppy up. And I'll give me a thumbnail when I dish it up.
Lovely. And
So whoever lurked, thanks for looking. Bye.
Opportunity for us Americans.
Appreciate it.
People trying to want to look at me nervous. They want to put me on a TV screen. Never mind. Kamala Harris for sure.
is there anything in particular you like about her policies? Anything that stands out?
Abortion and just
I
trying to take
voted.
over. I feel like Trump's trying to take over women's
Later.
bodies, and I don't think it's right.
I'm the Trump man because he's a God-fearing dude. What I like about